And we are finally going to give you something to watch in theaters if that's what you've been itching for this summer. We're giving you Major. So, how was Major? Did you like it? What was it about?
Okay, so let me tell you this entire scene of me walking into the theater and Michael texting me, I'm inside, come on. And I got popcorn and I walk into the theater and there's Michael. There's an empty theater and there's Michael right at the top. The last seats, we always get ourselves the last kick-ass seats and empty damn theater and two of us again in an empty theater at Cinemark. So, in fact, we put out a video, say, hey, here we are getting a private screening again of Major. Anyway, so we get started with the movie, and we spend the first 1 hour of that movie literally waiting for the movie to start because the name of the movie is Major, and we're like looking at each other like, when will that fight sequence start? Because the poster is this guy in an army uniform, and we need to literally, see him get into the army uniform. What's going on here? But this is the entire story of him falling in love with a girl and literally figuring out if he's in love with the girl, figuring out if the girl is in love with him. So 1 damn hour, we keep waiting for him to figure out what he wants to do. We see that he's obsessed with the Navy. And then finally the girl tells him, the only place where, and then we see that he gets rejected at the Navy, and then he's very dejected. And then the girl tells him, the only place where you get uniform is not the Navy. You can also get a uniform if you, she's so bright and he's so tall, he doesn't know that he could get the uniform elsewhere. So she points him out in the direction of the army. So you can literally go and get a uniform if you go into other forces. And Michael and I look at each other and say, that low IQ? Seriously? We look at each other and we pass comments and we look back in the screen and we're like, oh, finally, we might get to see some action. So we see some action and then this back and forth of backstories. Why do we have to do backstories? And then there is some backstory of how the marriage fails. Still, we wanted action. We wanted to see what happened the day this happened, and the dramatization and the over dramatization of that entire episode of 2811, a very tragic episode of this guy killing terrorists as a part of the special forces inside the Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai. He saved the life of numerous hostages before he was martyred by terrorists inside the hotel on the night of November 26, 2008. So this is that story, but that story lasted all of 20 minutes. The rest of it just was us waiting for those scenes to happen.
So we were just in the middle of a riveting review of Major, and I'm going to let M continue.
Well, if I were to tell you a little bit more about the story, this guy called Sandeep Unnikrishnan, which was played by Adivi Sesh. By the way, Adivi Sesh, and a fun fact about this guy, he grew up in Berkeley, went to Berkeley High, went to San Francisco State before he went to India to actually make movies. This movie actually is bankrolled not only by Sony, but also by, guess who?
Eros.
Mahesh Babu.
Oh, what?
What?
The way I was just saying brands. And when did Mahesh Babu get into the producing scene?
He does, in fact, produce movies. And we did, if you go to our Instagram, we did post a little clip of Mahesh Babu and Adivi Sesh together. They did a little thing for Instagram. It's really cute. You see the two of them together. This is it. While growing up, this guy, and by the way, this movie is written by Adivi Sesh as well. And this guy, Sandeep Unnikrishnan, whose biopic this is supposed to be while growing up, his dream was to wear a forces uniform because he loved Schwarzenegger growing up. He used to watch all those DVDs growing up, and his father used to take, because he used to live in a port city, he used to take him to watch the Navy march. So he grew obsessive of uniforms, obsessive of guns, and this is all that he wanted to do. But his parents, played by Prakash Raj and Revati, were disappointed by his career choices. But obviously, he does what he has to do. So it takes him like that entire, as I said, the entire hour to finally go up to his parents and say, "I'm joining the army." That's the end of it. And as Michael and I look at each other, it's like, okay, that's it, settled. Why did we have to wait for an hour for that to happen? But then he joins the army. He becomes a trainer. He's not a commander. He's not a field operator. He's a trainer. And he gets promoted as a trainer, but he romances and marries his childhood sweetheart, who's Seema Draker. Her name is Isha. And the romance track takes up most of the movie then. And the entire romance track is so funny that we were literally sitting there laughing. Okay, so it's kind of shit. It's stuff that we watch all the time in Bollywood movies, but for Michael, it was too much to handle. He's literally laughing. He fell out of his seat laughing because he hadn't seen anything of that sort. The trip and fall and the umbrella falling and the girl running to the bus to kiss the guy in slow motion. And he's like, what the hell is going on here? So he got his first taste of that Bollywood style romance, but thank God he didn't get the song and dance, them breaking into song and dance and 50 other people dancing. So that he hasn't done yet. So wait till he starts doing that. But anyway, so then there are problems between him and his wife because they don't live together. He's in Haryana and she's in Bangalore. They both have separate careers and she has a miscarriage, and because of that, they want to separate. So she sends him a divorce notice. He hasn't signed it yet, but however, it's during that time the terrorists attack Mumbai, and Sandeep goes there with his team, and the rest of the movie is an elucidation of.
And of course, we have to have a love track parallel going with, this whole action-packed army thing. Clearly, that's always what happens, right? Of course, you just got to fall in love when you decide to go into the army. I mean, what else would you be doing? But we are glad that Michael enjoyed it, because that is our number one priority here. We just like to introduce people who don't know anything about Bollywood media to Bollywood media, music, and shows. And great for us, he enjoyed it. So we're going to make sure Michael keeps doing more and more of that. In the meantime, what you should do more and more of is go to Live and read the rest of our review, because we gave Major a 5 out of 10. And if you want to find out why, you have to read on.
Absolutely. See, when we gave Major 5 out of 10, it was because it just doesn't measure up to Dev Patel's Hotel Mumbai Hotel, which is streaming in Hulu if you didn't know. Oh, it doesn't measure up to even an Amazon Prime series, Mumbai Diaries, which talk about the same episode, the Mumbai 26/11 attacks, but it speaks of different perspectives. Now, we're not questioning the perspective. This is indeed a biopic, but to mix the biopic with a love story, it takes the attention away from the bravery of the guy, going granular into his character development. They could have stuck to character development, but bringing in so many aspects and then, literally taking each episode of his childhood and then mapping it to his adulthood was tedious. The granularity of his character development just became boring after a while. Also, Sashi Kiran Thikka and Adivi Sesh, who not only wrote and directed the movie together, they just wasted a lot of time in the romantic aspects, which could have literally been, relegated to the background. I know they did it for commercialization of the movie, but it's not required. This movie, we missed the action. This movie was an action movie, missed the action aspects really badly because we got stuck with the romance aspects for such a long time that we were fatigued by the time it came to the real meat of the movie. It came in too late and too to um, it came in too late. It came in too late, and it came in too little. So it kind of reduced the bravery of Sandeep Unnikrishnan to a great extent, by really relegating those scenes to just, we would have loved for those scenes to be a 2-hour movie.
Right.
So that's what my thought process around this is.
Sure. I think that if there is a Mahesh Babu involvement in a movie, there must always be some kind of romance, because I think that's where he gets a majority of his audience from. However, he needs to start thinking in the mind of a producer and not an actor, because that concept of having that really strong parallel romance works only when he's on the screen. That's what people want to see from him. They want to see him in a really strong, like 50% romance movie, 50% everything else. But now that he's producing it and he's still in that same mindset, he doesn't realize that once you change the heroes, that's not exactly what people want to see on screen anymore. I'm like, yeah, because you associate all this romance with Mahesh Babu doesn't necessarily mean you associate all that romance with Mahesh Babu movies. So
absolutely, and if I look at the numbers, how the movie's done, it's doing extremely well here because of the Telugu crowd, of course. It's doing very well in South India because of the Telugu crowd again. But it's not doing well anywhere else because of the Telugu crowd again. So.
For sure. That does not, of course, diminish how we think the actors did, because I think that Prakash Raj actually received some fantastic reviews for this movie. But honestly, where does Prakash Raj not receive fantastic reviews? Like, he's just the one character you can constantly rely on. Any language,
all Bollywood Indian movies have this one character who need to summarize the plot. They get a monologue. Like Amitabh Bachchan got one in Runway 34. This guy got one here. So you have this one guy who has to speak the monologue for summarizing the movie and the moral science lecture behind the movie. So that's what Prakash had got to do here about Sandeep Unnikrishnan and his patriotism. So I think that was a well done monologue. But the performances, the action, and the patriotism was super synced. Did not go overboard because it wasn't a lot in the first place. A lot of footage was romance and things that just didn't matter to us who wanted to see the patriotism of Sandeep Unnikrishnan.
And that wraps up our show for this week. Be sure to tune in next week for more Bollywood movies, media, and entertainment. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.